Welcome. In this playthrough of Marvel Champions card game, we continue on with Scenario 4 of Sinister Motives, going up against the Sinister Six. So we just took out Mysterio, and he disappears in a puff of smoke, revealing that you've been led into an underground silo. The stillness in the room quickly erupts into a chaotic melee as each member of the Sinister Six bursts from the darkness. So we're taking on 6 villains here. Got 2 main schemes, and the encounter deck has a Sinister Six, Guerrilla Tactics, and a Standard. The active counter, so during this scenario, there may be more than 1 villain in play. However, only 1 villain at a time will have the active counter, using an all-purpose counter, which is placed on the villain at the start of the scenario and will move between villains through card abilities. The active counter determines which villain is considered to be active. This is the only villain that activates during Step 2 of the villain phase. Counter card effects that refer to the villain without a qualifier refer only to the active villain. Card effects that specify the villain who best meets a certain condition, such as with the highest activation or most remaining hit points, refer to the specified villain regardless of which villain is active. After the villain with the active counter is defeated, move the active counter to the next villain in activation order. If no other villains are in play, set the active counter aside. Activation order, just letting them know they go from 1 through 6. And if you're at 6 and need to go to the next, you go back around to the first one. For setup, Venom's coming into play with the first player. We've got Public Outcry again, Smear Campaign, and Snitches Get Stitches. Community Service. We still have 4 of those cards left, so we'll randomly get one of those and shuffle into the encounter deck. So we'll get that done there. Place threat on the light at the end side scheme equal to the number recorded in the Waking Nightmare section, which was 1, and then we'll follow setup instructions on the left and right side here. So we've got an extra mulligan if we need it. So far we haven't used it. So we've got our extra aspect cards. We're on our enhanced side of our tech. We're going to get the 2 Osborne tech cards we've revealed, getting additional 2 threat on the main scheme. And we need to go find a minion starting out the game. So we'll go ahead and do that. And looks like our minions are life-size decoys, scheme of 0, attack of 0, 5 health. In expert mode, they gain toughness. We're in standard. The engaged player cannot thwart side schemes on this. And then for our main scheme, we're going to choose X villains at random, where X is 1 more than the number of players. Put those villains into play, place an active counter on a villain with the lowest activation order value, set the other villains aside, put the light at the end, side scheme into play, trap side face up. Then on this side, we have an ambush special. Choose a set aside villain at random, put that villain into play, and place the active counter on it. In expert mode, you place 2 threat on the light at the end. Forced interrupt, when a villain would activate, if no villain is in play, resolve this card's ambush ability, and it starts with 4 threats, so we're getting 6 on that because of the our reputation. Light at the end on the trap side. Permanent, hinder 10 per player, so it's coming in with 30 threat. That is nasty. Players cannot win unless they escape. Forced interrupt, when the last threat is removed from this scheme, resolve the ambush ability on the main scheme, then flip this card over. So we've got our 6 villains here. So we are trying to find 1 more than the number of players. So we're going to start with 3 of these. And the 3 we are starting with will be Electro. Scheme of 2, attack of 1. He's number 2 in the order. Force response, after he attacks and damages you, discard the top 7 cards of your deck. Move the active counter to the next villain in the activation order. When defeated, remove 4 threat from a side scheme, 7 if he's the last one in there, and 8 health. Then we have Vulture, scheme of 1, attack of 2, 6 in order. After he attacks and damages you, choose and discard a card from your hand. Move the active counter to the next villain, and when defeated, remove 4 threat from the side scheme, 7 if there's no other villains, and 7 health. And Craven the Hunter, scheme of 1, attack of 2, 4th in the order. After he attacks and damages you, choose and discard a support or upgrade you control. Move the active counter to the next villain in the order. And when defeated, remove 4 threat from a side scheme, or 7 if he's the last one in play, and 9 health. For our heroes, I haven't changed anything from the last game. So Spider-Man with Justice, Ghost Spider with Protection, So he's starting out with 2 for thwart, attack, and defense. He's got his Venom Blast ability, dealing 2 damage to an enemy and then stunning. Or Spider Camouflage, he gets tough and he confuses an enemy. Hence has a 5, health of 9. Alter Ego, recover 4. After you change to this form, shuffle a Spider-Man card from your discard pile into your deck. Hand size of 6. He's got his laser goggles on the enhanced side, -1 thwart, +2 attack. Basic attacks gain overkill and piercing. Our aspect card was Mariah Hill, and with the first player, he gets Venom. And he's using the Justice, so 2 Power of Justice. Under Surveillance, 2 Spycraft, 2 Surveillance Teams, 2 Homeland Interventions, 3 for Justice, and Spider-Woman, Eros, Quake, Agent Coulson, and Monica Chang. Basic cards, we have our 3 resources, Helicarrier, Nick, Mockingbird, and Downtime and an Endurance. For Ghost Spider, thwart of 1, attack of 2, defense of 3. Dizzying reflexes, response after you resolve an interrupt or responsibility on an event. Ready her limit once per phase. Hand size of 5, hit points of 10. Alter Ego, we've got a recovery of 3. As an action, choose to either shuffle a ticket to the multiverse from your discard pile into your deck, or ready George Stacy. Hand size of 6 on this side. It's got her darts, so now they can deal 1 damage to up to 2 different enemies, and 3 Moxies. Then for our protection cards, we have 2 Power of Protection, Nerves of Steel, Night Nurse, 2 Sidesteps, 2 What Doesn't Kill Me, and then 3 Jump Flips. Then we have Clea, Silk, Starhawk, Victor, and Spider UK. And with our basics, we have our 3 resources, a Helicarrier, 2 Spider-Man, a Peter Parker, and Mr. Brown, and the Web of Life and Destiny, along with our Downtime and Endurance. So just about ready for a big fight in this silo here, shuffling our encounter deck, and each of our heroes getting 6 cards, starting with Miles. And we do have an extra mulligan if we decide to need it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Helicarrier, Quake, Strength, Power of Justice, Energy, and a Downtime. Let's think about this. That gets that stuff out. That brings that out. And we have a double resource that we can't use. I'll just go ahead and keep this whole hand. And over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Ghost Kick, Moxie, Phantom Flip, Gutter Punch, Genius, and a Spider-Man. Good with those. That just auto kills a dude out there. And an ally is always good. So Moxie, Jump Flip, and Web of Life. We don't really need those 2. So 1 more time, Downtime and Endurance. All right, so we're going to bring in a Quake. Thwart of 1, attack for 2, 2 health. After minion schemes, exhaust her to deal 2 damage to that minion. We're going to overpay for a Helicarrier. It's an action, exhaust it, choose a player, reduce the resource cost of the next card that player plays this phase by 1. We'll use that to bring in a Downtime, which will give us +2 recovery. Then we'll go ahead and flip over. We'll have Venom attack for 3. And then we're going to attack for 3 more with Overkill. So I'm going to put that on that. So we've got 1 more damage going through, and we'll put that on Electro. Quake attacks for 2 over here. Over here, we're going to discard a card to get 3 counters on for our compact darts. Go ahead and flip over. Bring in Spider-Man. Thwart of 2, attack of 1, 3 health. Play only if you control a Web Warrior card, which we now do. It's an interrupt. When he leaves play, discard the top 3 cards in counter deck. Deal damage to a villain equal to the number of boost icons discarded this way. And then Web of Life and Destiny. Ignore this card's resource cost if your identity has a Web Warrior trait, so we play it for free. If your Web Warrior ally leaves play, choose a player. That player draws a card. Then we're going to attack for 2 up here, and then spend a token to deal 1 damage to up to 2 different enemies. So we'll finish one there and put one more on Electro. So we've taken out 2 minions. Then we'll have him thwart for 2. And end our turn. We'll keep Ghost Kick. Got a sidestep, a jump flip, Spider UK, and a web bracelet. And over here, Endurance, Nick, Mockingbird, a web shot, and another web shot. So we're going to get 3 threat. Electro's going to attack over here. Quake will defend, so it's a base 1, 2 damage. Then, let's see, move the active counter to the next villain in the order. And so Kraven's attacking over here. Spider-Man's going to defend for base 2, 3, 4. And when defeated, or leaves play, discard the top 3 cards of the encounter deck. Deal damage to a villain. 1, 2, 3. So we're dealing 3 damage somewhere. Take him up to 5. Then we're going to choose ourselves to draw a card into what doesn't kill me. Then we'll get encounter cards +1 thanks to this guy. Got a condition, Taunting Presence. Attach to the villain with the most remaining hit points. If you cannot resolve the ambush ability on the main scheme, then attach this card to the active villain. Threat cannot be removed from light at the end. And Kraven has the most health. After your villain encounter card, deal a damage to Venom. Deal damage to an enemy equal to the number of icons in that card's boost area. So we will do that and put 2 damage on Kraven. Then the villain schemes. So base 1, 2. Then on this side, hey, the villain schemes again for base 1, 4. And pass first player. All right, we're going to request a help from the helicarrier to make our next card 1 cheaper. Bring in Spider UK, thwart 1, attack for 2, 5 health. When he defends against an attack, deal damage to the attacking enemy equal to the number of Web Warrior cards you control. And he's going to thwart for 1, because that is where we are weak at. Then we're going to bring in our Web Bracelet to resolve an interrupt or responsibility on an event. Exhaust this to draw a card. Then we're going to attack for 2. Wait, threat cannot be removed from light at the end. And all right, so we don't want to kill him until we take care of him. So we're going to attack for 2 +1. Then over here, we're going to bring in Nick Fury. Thwart of 2, attack of 2, 3 health. And after he comes into play, we can draw 3 cards, and he'll be discarded at the end of the round. So drawing into a web shooter, Power of Justice, and 4 Justice. Well, we're going to go 4 Justice to remove 4 threat from a scheme. Then we will attack for 3. And attack for 2 more. Remove 4 threat from a side scheme after he's defeated. And that will get shuffled back in there. And then we'll have him thwart for 2. That's going to move over. And end our turn. We'll go ahead and keep the web shooter for Justice, Gank Lee, Double Life, and Surveillance Team. And over here, Starhawk, Phantom Flip, a Ghost Kick, helicarrier, and what doesn't kill me. So 3 threat. Vulture attacks over here. When he defends against an attack, deal damage to the attacking enemy equal to the number of Web Warrior cards you control. So that's going to be 2 damage. He's attacking for a base 2. So 5 damage. It's going to defeat him. And we're going to choose for us to draw a card into a Ghost Kick. That moved over. Now Electro's attacking over here. Nick Fury defends for base 1. So you give the villain an additional boost card for this activation. So 1, 2, 3, 4 damage coming in. And move that over. Hand out some encounter cards, +1, because Venom's still around. Snitches get stitches. That's not good. Victory -1 attached to Venom. If you cannot, this card gains Surge. Force Interrupt. When a villain attacks, it attacks Venom. If that attack defeats Venom, add Venom and this card to the victory display. As an action, exhaust Venom and spend 2 resources of the same type to discard this card. All right. In expert mode, this card gains Insight 1 and cannot be canceled. We're not in that form. Put the set aside Dr. Octopus and Scorpion into play. If Dr. Octopus is already in play, confuse a character you control. Scorpion is already in play, stun a character you control. Well, we're getting Doc Ock and Scorpion. Let's see, Doc Ock is first in the order and Scorpion is 5th. And then over here, the villain attacks you. Let's see. When a villain attacks, it attacks Venom. If that attack defeats Venom, add Venom and this card to the victory display. So attacking Venom, we're going to defend with Ghost Spider. So it's a base 1 coming in, 4 damage coming our way. Which means we're going to take 1. If he attacks and damages you, discard the top 7 cards of your deck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh wait, he's not the active one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Vulture was attacking for base 2, so 5 damage coming in. Choose and discard a card from your hand. Move the active counter to the next villain. So we took 2 damage. Discard a card from our hand. Move that over to Doc Ock. We're going to respond. After we use a basic power, which was our defense, we're going to remove 5 threat from a scheme, and that's going to ready us. And draw a card into strength and pass first player. We're going to bring out a web shooter, gets 3 counters on it. So hero resource, exhaust it, remove a web counter from it to generate a wild resource. We're then going to go for justice to remove 4 threat from a scheme. Then have Venom attack for 3. Take out Electro. When defeated, remove 4 threat from a side scheme. Spider-Man will attack for 3. Then Gwen is going to attack for 2. Right here, taking out Vulture, removing 4 threat. Then do a Ghost Kick. After Ghost Spider uses a basic power, deal 6 damage to an enemy, which is going to ready her. And I think we'll put that on Scorpion. Then we're going to attack for 2 more. And flip over and discard a card to add some more tokens. And end our turn. So Power Within, Swing In, Arachnobatics, Jefferson Davis, and Under Surveillance. And over here, Spider-Man Peter Parker, Silk, Punch, Moxie, Ticket to the Multiverse, and George Stacy. 3 threats. Attacking over here, so going after Venom. Spider-Man's going to defend. So it's a base 2 damage, so we take nothing. Moves over here, Scheming for base 0. Let's see, deal 1 indirect damage to each player. In expert mode, deal an additional indirect damage to the first player. So indirect damage there. We'll put that on Venom. So he just schemed for 1, and we'll move that back over. Deal out some encounter cards. First one, in expert mode, this card gains Surge, cannot be canceled. When revealed, resolve the ambush ability on the main scheme. If no villain was put into play this way, place 3 threat on light at the end. So that is choose a set-aside villain at random, put it into play, and place the active counter on it. And Hobgoblin is coming in. Scheme of 2, attack of 1. 3rd in the order. After your attacks and damages you, take 2 indirect damage. So he's 3rd. He becomes active. We're going to use his ability. After you reveal an encounter card, deal a damage to Venom. That's going to deal a damage to someone else. And we'll do it there. Venom is now out, which means this will get discarded, and he didn't die from an attack. All right, the villain and each minion engaged with you attacks you. All right, that's not going to go well. So attacking for base 1. In expert mode, we're not in expert mode, so he's attacking for 3. So we're down to 6. And we take 2 indirect damage, down to 4. And pass that token over. Then Alter Ego, the villain with the lowest activation order, which is going to be Dr. Octopus. Schemes plus X scheme, where X is equal to the total scheme of all other villains in play. So he's scheming for base 4. 7. Oh, thought we were getting that in check. Apparently not. And pass first player. All right, we're going to bring in Spider-Man. So we've got requirement 1 of each resource. We have 2 wilds and a mental, so we've got that covered. Response after your attacks or thwarts, choose another Web Warrior character and ready that character. And then we're going to use her ability to shuffle this back in her deck. Then we are going to recover for 3, up to 10. Flip over. He's going to attack for 2 to get rid of Scorpion, which will move that over. And remove 4 threat from a side scheme. And ready us. Then we're going to bring in Silk. Thwart 1, attack 1, 2 health. After you play it from your hand, if you control another Web Warrior card, search the encounter deck for Treachery and discard it. Let's see. An Assault. Surprise. Resolve the ambush ability. Partnership in Pain. That looks bad. We'll discard that one. Then we're going to attack for 2 and 3 on Hobgoblin. Silk will thwart for 1. All right, we're going to use a helicarrier, make our next card cheaper, swing in, Hero action, remove 4 threat from a scheme. If you pay for this card using a mental resource, resolve his camouflage ability. So 4 threat off a scheme. Camouflage, give Spider-Man a tough status and confuse an enemy. We'll confuse Doc Ock, and we become tough. Then under surveillance, attached to the main scheme, increase the target threat value by 4. So it goes to 20 now. Then I'm going to flip over and put a card. We'll put Swing In back in. And that's going to end the turn. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Swing In, Arrows for Justice, Spycraft, Surveillance Team, and Spider-Woman. And over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nerves of Steel, Web Binding, Power Protection, Clea, and a Sidestep. So 3 threat. Attacking over here, Silk is going to defend, so it's a base 2, 5 damage. She goes away. Takes the damage to you. Yep, so all these things are when they attack and damage you. And we're going to let Spider-Man draw a card to Agent Coulson. Then scheming over here for base 2, 3. Then encounter cards. That got moved. Heighten morale. Attach to the villain with the highest activation order. If you cannot resolve the ambush ability, X is equal to the number of villains in play. So it's got plus X, so plus 2 at the moment. And then over here, attached to the villain with the most remaining hit points, which is going to be Doc Ock. Threat cannot be removed from light at the end, so he just became our target. And pass first player. All right, we're going to heal for 4, up to 8. Flip over. Bring in Agent Coulson. Thwart a 2, attack him 1, 3 health. After you enter his place, search your deck and discard pile for a preparation card and add it to your hand and shuffle your deck. We're going for Spycraft, which is hiding in here or in my hand. Then we'll use the web shooter to bring that in. Play only if you control a spy character. As an interrupt, when you reveal an encounter card, discard it, cancel the effects of that card, and discard it. Then reveal another from the encounter deck. Hopefully I can remember that when it matters. Then we're going to bring in Arrows. Thwart a 2, attack of 1, 2 health. After you play them from your hand, confuse a minion. There's no minions in play. Both of these are going to thwart for 2 each. Over here, we're going to play Nerves of Steel. Play under any player's control. It's a resource. Exhaust it. Generate a energy resource for a defense event. We're going to ask for a use from the Helicarrier to bring in Clea. And she will thwart for 1. Spider-Man is going to let her attack first for 2 and 3 using one of these. And then he'll attack for 2 to ready her. And she'll attack for 3 more. And that's going to be enough to take out Doc Ock and remove 4 threat from a side scheme. And end our turn. I'm going to keep Sidestep. Draw into our Ticket to the Multiverse, some energy, power, protection, and a web bracelet. And over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Genius, Mariah Hill, Homeland Intervention, Web Shot, and Arachnobatics. So we get 3 threat. Hobgoblin attacks. We will take it for, it's going to be a base 2, 3, 4. Blues are tough. Then he's going to attack over here. We're going to defend. So it's a base 2, 5 damage coming our way. We defended for 3. We're going to play Nerves of Steel. When you would take any amount of damage, prevent 3 of that damage. If you paid for this card using an energy resource, which we did, deal a damage to an enemy. And then we're going to ready and draw a card into Parental Guidance. And get some encounter cards. The villain attacks you. Arrows will defend for base 2, 3. And we get an acceleration. And do some shuffling. So far, knock on wood. Oops, that doesn't get shuffled in there. We're doing okay, I think. Hopefully I didn't just curse myself, but we'll see what happens. That takes a while when you've got 30 plus threat to go through. All right, then over here, from every direction, place a threat on the main scheme for each enemy in play. So that's just going to be 1. And pass first player. So we're going to attack for 2. What's his health go to? 9. Then we'll attack for 2 more, which will defeat him. Yeah, we've got 5 there. So if he's the last one to play, remove 7 threat from the side scheme. So we're down to 4. She's going to ready. He's going to be discarded. And then we'll draw a card into a jump flip. Then we will thwart for 1. Flip over. We're going to bring in another web bracelet. And then use her ability to shuffle this back into our deck. Then Parental Guidance. If George Stacy is not in play, search your deck and discard pile for him and add him to her hand. Then we'll bring him into play. Events attached to him may be played as if they're in her hand. It's an action exhaust team. Attach an event from your hand face down here to a max of 3. Then we'll use that to bring in a jump flip. And I'm going to pitch a resource, double resource, to get 3 more counters. And that's going to end her turn on this side. Actually, I'm not going to do that. Spider-Man says wait. Because he's going to play Mariah Hill. 4 to 2 attack of 1/2 health. After she enters play, each player draws a card. So drawing into Monica Chang. And over here into the Night Nurse. We'll discard her as an action to get those 3. Then thwart for 2 and 4. Make our next card 1 cheaper. To bring in Monica Chang. Thwart 1, attack 1/2 health. After she enters play, search your deck, hand, and discard pile for a copy of the Surveillance Team support and put it into play, and then place a Snoop counter on each Surveillance Team you control. Feel like there's got to be one in here. Yep. So it gets 3 Snoop counters as an action. Exhaust it. Remove a Snoop counter from it to remove a threat from a scheme. So that's coming in with the base 3 plus 1, but we're going to go ahead and exhaust it to remove 1. Actually, no, we won't. We'll put that 1 back on there. We're going to play Homeland Intervention. Exhaust up to 3 shield cards you control and choose a scheme. Remove 2 threat from that scheme for each card exhausted this way. That's a shield, that's a shield, and that's a shield. So that's going to remove 6 threat. All right. So now we're going to go all crazy on that next turn, unless something else pops up. Oh, he's still got something to do. He'll thwart for 1. And that will end the turn. Ready everything up. All right, we're keeping energy over here, so 5 more cards. Web binding, a phantom flip, our ticket to the multiverse, Victor, and a counter card, and shuffle. And we got 1 more card coming. Her punch. And over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just magically the right number to make us get another encounter card. And we'll shuffle up. All right, villain phase, 4 threat. When a villain would activate, if no villain is in play, resolve the card's ability, and then continue that activation. So we're going to go ahead and shuffle, make sure we get our 6, and see who's going to come in and activate. And it's going to be Hobgoblin. He's attacking over here. Oh no, he's scheming over here for base 2. Give the villain an additional boost card for this activation. So 2, 4, 6. Well, we thought we had that under control. Attacking over here. Mariah Hill's going to defend, so base 1, just 1 damage, and that's enough. Then encounter cards. Partnership of Pain, or an alter ego action. The villain with the lowest value schemes with plus X, where X is equal to the total scheme of all other villains in play. So fortunately, it's just going to be a normal scheme. Unfortunately, it's already schemed for a lot. So we got lucky with that, so just 2. And then attach the villain with the most remaining hit points, so threat can't be removed from light at the end until we take him out. And double. And surge attached to the villain. Cannot defend. Each character cannot defend against attached villain's attacks. As a hero action, exhaust a character you control and discard 1 random card from your hand and discard this card. Hobgoblin has got all kinds of stuff, and now he's going to attack. All right, so he's attacking us for base 1. Let's see, cannot defend. Do 1 indirect damage to each player. She'll go down to 9. We'll put 1 on her, so he attacked us for 1. And then because of his ability, take 2 indirect damage. We're going to apply both of that to ourselves. And pass first player. All right, we're going to do Homeland Intervention. Exhausting 1, 2, 3 shield cards to remove 6 threat from a scheme. Then we're going to attack for 3. Then we're going to use our web shooter as a physical resource. Change your form. If you paid for this card using a physical resource, ready your identity. And that does not prevent us from our 1 free form change. So we're exhaust and ready. And then we can put one of his cards back in. Then we're going to heal for 4. I'm sorry, 6. Well, 4, because we can only go to 9. Oh, well. We're going to use the helicarrier to bring in another web shooter. Use our 1 free flip. Then use our web shooter to help pay for a swing in, remove 4 threat from a scheme. If you used a mental resource, we get to do our spider camouflage ability. And that's going to make us tough and confuse an enemy. And he's got 9 health. All right, over here, we're going to play Victor. 4 to 0, attack at 0, 4 health, reduce amount of damage he takes from each attack by 1. Use her ability to shuffle this back in. And we'll discard a card to put 3 more counters over here. We're going to flip, attack for 2. After that, add another damage. So that's a total of 3. Then we're going to phantom flip. After we use a basic power, remove 5 threat from a scheme. Or 2. Then we're going to ready and draw a card into a jump flip. We'll use George to put another jump flip down here. Then we're going to attack for 2 and 3 more to finish Hobgoblin off, which is going to allow us to remove 7 threat from there. And for I'm just going to assume that means we defeated this to take 1 off of that. So when the last threat is removed from the scheme, resolve the ambush ability on the main scheme, and then flip this card. Players can escape on the other side. Hinder of 10 each. Players cannot win unless they escape. When the last threat is removed from this scheme, the players escape and win the game. So that's coming in with 25 threat on it. So 10 and 20, and 5 more. Now we're doing the special ability on our turn. And that brings in the Vulture with 7 health. All right, so she did that. All right, we're going to end her turn there. We'll go ahead and discard, readying everything else. One, two, three, four, 5. Genius, Moxie, Jump Flip, Moxie, and a Ghost Kick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Web Shot ×2, Endurance, Spycraft, and for Justice. 4 threat. Attacks over here. We take it a base 2, 3 damage. We lose tough. Attacks over here. We will defend. A base 2. Put this minion into play, engage with you. Then, after Ghost Spider uses a basic power, which was her defense, deal 6 damage to an enemy. We'll kill the decoy, which will ready us and allow us to draw a card. Then encounter cards, +1 because of the light at the end. Public Outcry is in play. Place 2 notoriety counters on it, and then remove this card from the game. Well, public opinion's not good of us. Heighten morale. Attach the villain with the highest activation order. So he's getting additional attack depending on the number of villains in play. And resolve the ambush ability on the main scheme. If no villain was put into play this way, place 3 threat. So we're getting another friend coming in, who's going to be active, so Craven the Hunter. I'll move him over there. He's number 4 in order, and we pass first player. Well, actually, in response to this last one coming out, when a card is revealed from the encounter deck, deal damage to the villain equal to 1 more than the number of boost icons on that card, and cancel the when revealed effects. I think that's what we're doing. So Craven didn't come out. We're doing 2 damage there. The main reason why I'm doing that is because I've got nothing good in my hand to do on my next turn. So then we pass first player and we'll proceed from there. So Ghost Spider is going to attack for 2, 3. We'll have Clea attack for 1 more. And then she'll get shuffled in. We'll add Moxie in here for George. We have Spider-Man, finish him off, which is going to remove 7 threat from a side scheme. Then for Justice, to remove 4 threat from a scheme. Go ahead and make sure that doesn't flip. Use a Helicarrier to bring in Endurance, giving us +3 health. So we're up to 12. Then use this Web Shooter to bring in another Spycraft. And end your turn. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nick, Arachnobatics for Justice, Surveillance Team, and Spider-Woman. And over here, Ghost Kick, Strength, Web Binding, Ticket to the Multiverse, and another Ghost Kick. For threat, enemy goes to activate. We go find one. And Hobgoblin comes out. He's going to attack over here. We're going to defend. So he's got a base 1 coming our way, 2 damage coming our way. And we're going to respond with a Ghost Kick. After we use a basic power, deal 6 damage to an enemy. Which readied us, and we can draw a card to a Phantom Flip. Then attack over here. Monica will defend. 4 damage coming in. Discarded. Encounter cards. +1. The villain schemes. So that's going to be base 2, 3. Place a threat on each scheme. So basically that's going to be 4 added there and 1 more over there. Then we've got a Worried Father. Search your deck hand, play area for George Stacy and set him aside. Attach this obligation. And Partnership of Pain. Villain with the highest activation order value attacks you. +X, where X is equal to the total attack of all other villains in play. There aren't any other. Agent Coulson will jump in front of this one and take 1 damage, and that's enough. And pass first player. We're going to make our next card. No, we're going to use a Web Shooter to help bring in Nick Fury. Actually, we're going to use 2 Web Shooters to bring in Nick Fury. And draw 3 cards with him. Power of Justice, Mockingbird, and Venom. Then Spider-Man will attack for 3, which is enough to take him down. And remove 7 threat. We did take out another minion earlier. Don't think it's going to matter, though. Then for Justice, remove 4 threat from a scheme. Use Surveillance Team to remove another threat. Nick Fury for 2 more. Helicarrier to make our next card 1 cheaper to bring in Spider-Woman. 4-1 attack for 2/3 health. No reduced cost. She'll come in and thwart for 1. And then over here, Ghost Spider will thwart for 1. And do a Phantom Flip. After she uses a basic power, move 5 threat from a scheme. And that's going to finish off Light at the end. And that's going to be the end of this game. So we escaped the silo with a Sinister 6. So for our story, he finally decided to join me. I thought you'd be faster. Shut it, Norman. I am so done with you right now. Manners, young lady. Although I'd imagine you are exhausted, you've been through quite the ringer. Unfortunately for you, this is only the beginning. Venom screams in pain there. By the way, I should thank you for returning my experiment. The pieces that I dissected are really nothing without the whole. You may have stopped Osborn before, but you won't stop us. We are Venom Goblin. So our victory for this one, using the conditions section, calculate your group's total reputation, then mark the number of nodes. We didn't do any community stuff. In the last one standing section, record the name of each villain in play. There are no villains in play. So we're just going to our conditions. Victory points in display, 0. Number of minions in play, or no, none of them. So we got 1 there. No side schemes in play. That's environment, so we're good there. No threat on the main scheme. We had some threat there. Fewer than 1 per player acceleration tokens. We only had 1. And no defeated identities. So we got another 4 on top of that. So we were at 15, so that's going to take us to 19. And with that, each player chooses 1 card from their deck, then records the title of that card in their planning ahead section of the campaign log. For setup, each player searches the deck and discard pile for a copy of the card recorded in their planning ahead section of the campaign log, then adds that card to their hand. Then set up, the first player must search in counter deck and discard pile for a scenario-specific side scheme. Then reveal it, placing 1 per player threat on that side scheme. So for Ghost Spider, I think that's going to be George Stacy. So pick that there. You know what? I'm taking that back. Ticket to the Multiverse. We're going resources. And we're going to pick Genius for Spider-Man. Yeah. So we're going resources then. So that is going to be it for this one. Next up is Venom Goblin. So as always, hope you enjoyed this playthrough. So please click on the like button below and be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching.